Okay, good afternoon, everyone, and a warm welcome to this 55th in the series webinar on a very, very important topic today. The topic for today's webinar, friends, is post-COVID family business strategies. Friends, this webinar is being brought to you by IHRDI Foundation, which is Inclusive Human Resource Development Initiative. This is an initiative of like-minded professional people who joined together during the post-COVID days since last 1 year to bring about awareness into the society on very, very burning issues. And you will be very delighted to know that this is the 55th in the series webinar, and we have covered majorly all aspects of the sustainable development goals, wherein the 17 goals and many of them on environment, industry have been covered. We have also covered roughly 10-11 issues on entrepreneurship and other aspects of entrepreneurship, wherein we took the help of professional bodies like CII. And today also CII Chandigarh is helping us to come out with this issue of webinar. So friends, as we know that when we talk about the family business, this is one of the types of business which is the earliest and which is the most common. It is world over. So not only in India but world over, this type of business is most common. And if you see in the domain of small businesses, you will find that majorly sole proprietorship and the partnership, they are transmitted or taken forward from one generation to the other generation. Even in the bigger businesses, if we take it in stride in the Indian conditions, whether they are the private limited companies and thereafter the public limited companies, generally we have seen that the family businesses have been run from one generation to the other. And what comes to our mind is generally, if you see the Munjals, from Airtel we have the Bharti Mittals, and even Reliance for that matter, Jindals. They are the ones who are now professional organizations, but the baton is passed from one generation to the other generation. And somehow there are certain strengths also of this type of business, and there are certain weaknesses also. But the strength is that the continuity is maintained, and the learning and the evolution takes place from one generation to the other, and the one generation teaches the other generation to take the matter forward. But there are certain problems also, wherein the research says that the technical aspects or the technological aspects, or maybe the directors who should be more professional in nature, somehow and many a times that does not happen. But actually, when we see in the Indian conditions, we find that many or majorly organizations and majorly the companies which are running, they run into the family business format, and it is passed on from one generation to the other generation. And friends, as you know that every business, they have to undergo lots of challenges, and the business is a difficult word in that sense, and it's a 24/7 duty, wherein there's a lot of risk is involved, lot of uncertainty is involved, lot of unpredictability is therein. So hats off to the business people, especially the first generation entrepreneurs who take up everything, who sacrifice everything, their time, effort, money, their family life, to set up businesses. And thereafter, over a period of time, if things go okay, it is not only smoothened, but it goes well. And then the family takes over from one generation to other. Take the case of Reliance Industries Limited, wherein the started by Dhirubhai Ambani, and taken forward by the two czars, Mukesh Ambani and Anil Ambani. And thereafter, what happened between the two brothers, and how things were sorted out. Similarly, take the case of Jindals. We have other examples of Ranbaxy. We have Max examples, wherein the evolution. What I was trying to say is that the family evolution is a big conflict and a big challenge that keeps on going into the business. That who will inherit and how he will take the matter forward. Take the case of Goenkas, and you will find different stories and different problems, different issues in each of the family business. Similarly, the other and the very important aspect which every professional business has to do is to do with running your organization well, sustaining your organization, going from the top, going for the top line and the bottom line. in terms of the sales revenue and the profitability. So that is a perennial challenge which is there, and apart from that perennial challenge, they also have to face in terms of manpower planning, the succession aspects, all other aspects which is there. And if there are more than one sibling, so then how this will be divided, and also these are all issues. But friends, these issues were even, let's say, not enough when COVID struck since last 1 year, and other issues which were generally sorted out in terms of the demand, the supply, and in terms of the competition, in terms of the supply chain logistics, in terms of capital, in terms of diversification of business expansion. All these issues were generally sorted out, but COVID placed a big challenge. Industries were closed, the GDP was came on to zero, the labor was not available, the capacities were not being utilized, and even if there were capacities, the supply chain was hindered as such. The exports, if you somebody focuses on exports, so that was also not available. If you have to have imports, that also not available. So last 1.5 year has been very troublesome, very turbulent for the business, and especially I think family business would have taken a lot of hit out of there. If in generally nutshell, when you say that see how to go about these challenges, generally the philosophers and those the management gurus and the business gurus, generally they say that the four aspects or the four focuses which should have been therein, and they are applicable to all, but more so to the family business in terms of the important lessons which they should have been learned, is that you should be prepared for everything. Anything can come anytime, and one should be prepared. And the time of rigidity, the time of having certain structures which will not change, the bureaucratic structures leading to red tapeism or slow decision making, that also needs to change with lot of agility coming around. And then the adaptation to the environment, wherein especially if we talk about the hospitality industry, wherein since last 1.5 years the anything to do with hospitality has suffered a lot in terms of travel, tourism, the hotel industry, the anything, everybody who were involved into all this, they have suffered a lot because of it. So then they had to adapt in terms of, let's say, when things opened up, so go on to Zomato, the rather than restaurants or take home. So this adaptation is very much required, and those people into this, I'm particularly talking about hospitality, but in all other industries also, those people who adapted to the situation, they were the ones who who took the baton forward. And rather for some, there were many opportunities into the threat. Especially you can take the case of how we started from an importer of PP kits and an importer of various other medicines, how the pharma and medicine industry, they took it over from therein. And even for the sanitary aspects, now we have started exporting things. 6 lakhs PP kits we are manufacturing every day. And friends, apart from all this, the resilience of business, the never say die spirit, all will be well, K Sara Sarab. So all these aspects, so these four aspects of preparedness, agility, adaptation, and business resilience. So this is very much required, and this was the lesson that we have learned from all this. But I think what I am saying maybe may seem to you a little theoretical, because I am saying from research. But friends, the two panelists that we have today, they have seen it all, they have researched, and rather one of our panelists is one who is from the hospitality industry, and he will share his own experiences from therein. So friends, the two eminent panelists that we have invited today, Professor Vipin Gupta and Mr. Manmohan Singh Kohli ji. So these two eminent panelists will be talking to you. Just a brief introduction about the two eminent panelists. Professor Vipin Gupta is a professor of management and a co-director at Center for Global Management in the California State University, San Bernardino, in the United States of America. Professor Gupta is a PhD from Wharton Business School, and prior to that, he's MBA and postgraduate diploma in the management side from IIM Ahmedabad, and he's a gold medalist. And Professor Gupta is very much involved into teaching, research, publications, and he has, to his credit, more than 118 academic articles in various national, international journals, books, magazines, and he's also published more than 25 books. Rather of late, Professor Gupta has come out with a 12-book project, and he's put the name as Vipin, VIPIN, and the details are vastly integrated processes inside nature. And I had the opportunity to speak to him at length about this. Basically, he is trying to bring in the ancient wisdom of the traditional India from all spheres, from the religious, from the spiritual, from the metaphysical sphere into the light. And he is coming out with the 12-book project. Rather, I am pleased to share that he's bringing about one book, one per month, and having it published. And his books are also available in the Amazon, Flipkart. And just recently, Professor Gupta has been featured as a businessman in news in the July edition of Business India. So welcome, Professor Gupta, and I hope with your credentials and with a lot of experiences into the line, the participants will be gaining a lot of enlightenment from you. And further, I am further very thankful to you. It's around 12 o'clock night in the United States of America, and you're still awake for us. For us, though it's an afternoon, but hats off to you for this. And I'm sure our participants and a lot of knowledge will be created out of this talk that we're in. So friends, the second panelist for the day is Mr. Manmohan Singh Kohli ji. Mr. Kohli is presently the Chief Executive Officer, Aroma Group, Aroma Hospitality Group, Chandigarh. And rather, he is a pioneer in the field of hospitality business. Aroma happens to be one of the oldest hotels that we have in India. And he's done a lot of innovation into this category, wherein he's co-branded his unit with the good brands like McDonald's, Starbucks, etc., which I think many in the hospitality business is still to do. And he's also ventured now into the infra creation, wherein with the entry, and he's tied up with the companies like ABRL, Reliance, and Tata's. And Mr. Kohli is also very active in the field of industries. He is the past chairman of CII Chandigarh, and he is also the co-chair tourism in the regional council of CII. Mr. Kohli is in the board of IHRDI, which is the nodal body of the hospitality industry. And further, Mr. Kohli is also on the Punjab Governor's Advisory Committee, which advises the government on various issues related to governance. And he is also actively involved with various NGOs in the field. And he is an avid sports person, likes to keep fit by playing tennis and by jogging. And apart from Mr. Kohli, his family supports him into this venture. His son, his daughter, and though the moral support from Madam Kohli also, who's an academician like us, having retired from the government college, Punjab, as the principal into the psychology domain. So very, very warm welcome, Kohli Saab, and I hope we have a very, very good mix of panelists today, the research aspects by Professor Gupta, and the practical aspects by Mr. Kohli. And then I think it justifies the topic also, because post-COVID, we have to come out with new business strategies. So what should be those business strategies in terms of research and conceptualization, and how they should be taken forward would come out with their experiences. So friends, not taking long, the SARI team that will follow is that Professor Gupta will come up first, around 25 to 30 minutes, and thereafter Mr. Kohli will come up, and then once they finish it off, we'll have the question answer round, whatever time is left. And maybe if you have certain observations, all dear participants, you can forward it into the chat box. Certain questions are there, please start forwarding in the chat box, and we can take it in the end. So not taking much long between you and my panelists, I request Professor Gupta to come up first and to speak about his own experiences and research into the field of family business. especially related to the post-COVID strategies. So welcome again, Professor Gupta, and the stage is all yours now, sir.
Sorry, thank you, Dr. Chaddha, for that introduction. Let me share. Sorry. Share your entire screen. Okay. Are you able to see what I'm sharing, the PowerPoint? Are you able to see my PowerPoint?
Yes, sir, it's come.
Okay,
yes,
perfect.
Sir, it's visible, sir.
Yeah, thank you. So, first of all, it's important when we are looking at family businesses, whether we can bring order to chaos that the family businesses are currently facing through simplicity of reason and intuition, because that's what can get the family businesses forward in a very rapid way. And if you look at this rope, of course, if it looks kind of very messy, and one might say that, okay, we need to invite a lot of experts, look at a different kind of resources, trying to manage that. But there's a simple solution that comes if we sit back, introspect, and if we let our mind be open to possibility of how to disentangle the things which seem very complex and chaotic. And so that's the idea, that can we use the wisdom that we have and the modern science, and can we take that forward based on our reason and intuition to solve the challenges that post-COVID family businesses are facing. So there's a concept in Indian tradition called Trika. Trika means a threefold sequence that repeats the creation, creator, and creature. So the threefold sequence that repeats over time, and that manifests every reality. And in my research, essentially kind of the three streams of work that I have done, that I built on in today's conversation. First, there's a Project Globe, that's global organizational behavior and effectiveness research done on 20,000 middle-level managers, more than 1,000 CEOs in 62 countries. So this book was published and is internationally renowned. And I did some 6 additional books on strategic management. Then another 11 set books I did on family businesses in 10 cultural regions of the world, like Anglo region, Latin America, Latin Europe, and so on, and one on gender. And we call that the CASE project. And that's really the family businesses, as we know, they are nurturer of both culture and nature. So the family aspects is nurturing both elements. The third is what Dr. Chaddha just mentioned about Project Vipin, and that goes by my name, but it's really about self-discovery. As we know that the wisdom of India is about self-discovery, and the reason why the focus is on self-discovery is because we need to understand and develop our essential nature, because that essential nature is the essential nature of each and every element, whether it's you or a animal or a bird or a atom. So every element has the same essential nature, but different elements of that essential nature manifest over time, and therefore that gives a different quality to different kind of entities or elements that we see. So it's important. The goal of this project is to take the wisdom of India forward. So it's not to repeat what has been said in the past, but to take that wisdom forward, to address the issues left behind by science for Mother Nature to solve. As a scientist, we were there increasing wealth. And we know that if there's increasing demand for science and decreasing demand for everything else, then scientists make a lot of money. And that's what is happening. The world's wealth stratification that has happened in the last 20 years is unprecedented, where the 10% of people now hold 90% of wealth, because there's increasing demand for people, and the wealth that the scientists are saying that use our knowledge and pay us because our knowledge is more valuable rather than your intuition and reason. And therefore, the scientists are now able to pivot into more esoteric pursuits such as space travel, wishing immortality, for managing future life on Earth. And therefore, we need to find solutions that science is not able to address, given increasing challenges we are facing, whether it's environment, whether it's social stratification, whether it's mental issues. So the issues are growing rapidly, and science is moving to space. They are not focused on ground realities. And therefore, we need to address that gap. So 3 essential elements for bringing order to family business strategies. I'm going to use 3 things which have been mentioned in our wisdom: Prabhu Kripa, Guru Kripa, and Swayam Kripa. So those are 3 Kripas that are needed for success in anything. So if you're talking about family business strategies, those 3 Kripas are very critical. Now let's understand what these Kripas are in the context of my research. And I'm going to first explain some things and connect a lot of concepts which have been given in wisdom in science, and then start talking about the energy values to self-substantiate what I'm saying. So what is Prabhu Kripa? It is the inflow of known reality due to a depression in the absolute. Prabhu is absolute. Absolute is whatever is present. That's absolute. With COVID, what happens is there's a depression in whatever is present. So as a result, the family businesses start getting information about known reality of challenges, whether it's a breakdown in supply chain, whether it's health of the family members, or some of the family members, unfortunately, are no longer there. So there are many issues. It could be the customers don't have the money. So there are many known reality aspects that you could use using intuition reason. You can figure out that these are challenges you're going to face in a pandemic like this, and that information starts coming in, right? And so the Prabhu Kripa is that you get to understand the situation reality quickly. And if you don't, then of course you can't act fast enough and in a wise enough way. And the term that is used in terms of Trika concept is para, because it's transcendental information. Because it's transcendental, our sages in the past have called it superior element, because it's something that is beyond what we can know right now. But of course, if we use wisdom, if we use our intuition reason, in that case, we would have known that reality. In that case, that shouldn't have been a superior element. But we make it a superior element because we are not confident about ourselves, and therefore we want Prabhu Kripa to help us understand the gravity of the situation. And once we get that Kripa, the transcendental element, that creates increasing order. What increasing order, ascending order, means inflow of information that creates more discipline and gives more direction to whatever we are doing, right? And therefore, we are able to talk vacha, because everything mansa, vacha, karma. So vacha means that we start talking about the challenges that we are facing. And we are bound by the order that we are being, the order here means universe. The whole universe is now creating that challenge for us. And we know that it's beyond our capability, beyond the capability of the family. And therefore, we want to talk about that, trying to find solutions for others, and trying to get help of everybody in getting that. So that's challenge mindset solution. The second is a Guru Kripa. And what Guru Kripa means is that the family has a lot of wisdom, as Dr. Chaddha also mentioned. And once you know that there is a problem, then from family, there's outflow of wisdom due to depression of the reproductive force of the absolute, because now you cannot reproduce whatever was already happening in the business. And the Guru force is a reproductive force. The gravitational energy is something that you reproduce again and again, because that's the wisdom. And unlike the science, which says that if you reproduce something that destroys, over time and it gets decreasing returns, the wisdom is something that you can reproduce without destruction. Okay, so that's a reproductive force. A guru can be there forever. That energy that you can reproduce, that whatever guru has taught you, it doesn't experience entropy over time, right? So Indian wisdom shows that that wisdom, if it is that can be reproduced without entropy. So that's still that's called apara, because what's happening here is the business who's benefiting from that outflow, that is entangled with the family because it's dependent on the family's wisdom. Family has become the guru, right? And so in our scriptures, it's called apara, which is inferior element, because dependent on something, dependent on the knowledge which came from pra. So because it's dependent, what happens is that, of course, over time, if you reproduce the same thing, you realize that you get bored, and there are other kind of elements which happen, and therefore, over time, there's a descending order. You no longer want to rely on the order which was provided by Prabhu, and which the guru is teaching you to use that wisdom, and ultimately, you get to your action, free from the order. Okay. And so that's where the opportunity mindset comes in, that yes, I want to become my own guru. I want to take this my destiny in my own hands, and let's look at this opportunity, and let's look at that. But we forget that the guru is the one who gave that wisdom so that it creates that enlightenment and illumination in us. Okay, the family gave the freedom to the business so that the business gets enlightened, that it should not depend on the family. Family was just providing a seed capital. Okay, so if the child becomes dependent on the mother and the father, then the child will never grow. The child has to realize at some time that the parents are just providing initial support, and it's a seed capital, right? So when that happens, then you appreciate that the Prabhu has played the role and the guru has played the role, and you can move forward to swim. And that's the swim is the flow of consciousness program due to depression in I. What is I? I is formed through infinite networking system, because you're networking all the knowledge which has been created in outside you, right? And so that creates that I. And once you realize that whatever knowledge you are using as an I through infinite networking system that you have, it's not solving the problem, because what you need to do is you need to shift that networking system. So as new children come, new family businesses come, new opportunities come, you cannot be stuck in your current relationships, right? And that's where that flow of consciousness programs comes in, because if we have a consciousness of a particular system, and we believe that that system is going to give us lifelong benefits, that's where we run into problems. So we need that resiliency, and resiliency does not come by focusing on what we have right now. It locally, it comes from focusing on the entire universe. Okay, so that's where the order comes in. So para is the third element, which is the ulterior, the former who bears the cost of moving farther from the absolute to enjoy order's perpetuating value. So the family is the former element. Business is the latter element in family business. And so the former, maybe the father who set the business up, that person has to bear the psychological cost of moving farther from the present of the business in order to enjoy the perpetuating value the universe is able to create with the business. Okay, so when business get connected with the entire universe, that's where the horizontal order, the perpetuating value without entropy comes in. And that really is a mental thing that the owners and the family members have to shift from controlling order to enjoying order. Okay, so that's a life lesson mindset. So let's look at in the Prabhu Kripa. So how that happens is limiting the family interface. So if family sort of give freedom to business, then who is Prabhu? The Prabhu is the entire world. So the business can then start taking benefit of the entire world, and that's called Arohana. And the energy value that I quantify that is 105. Why 105? Because what's happening is family has a past, present, future. Business has a past, present, future, right? And those family and business are multiplying their future, their respective futures, in 4 directions: east, west, north, and south. So that's 10. And then you are perpetuating half of it, okay, the visible half, as an order. So that's why it's 105. And ascending order is a function of 2 things. One, separation energy, because when you separate things, so you separate family and business. So that separation creates energy, and that energy, what that creates is 81. What is 81? So again, Kaf, you had this, what is 8? 8 is Kudrat, it's Mother Nature. And 8 comes from 3 dimensions of time, 4 dimensions of space, 1 dimension of entity, the family business as an entity. So you're separating family, all these 8 elements, and what you're focusing on is just business now. Okay, so you're limiting the family interface, and you have created this 8 elements, and your forward moving is, you have separated the business. So that's where the separation energy is 81. And that actually can be seen as a profit. Labh, which is also 81, because what you do is you have now focused on your business, therefore you can profit. It's also loss, because you are focused on business, family is not there, right? But where the family comes in is as an entity, the family business as an entity. So that's past, present, future, family and business. So that's 6. And then family business as a whole, you expand into 4 dimensions. So 6 times 4 is 24, Hasti, and that's the entity energy. So 81 plus 24 is ascending order, Arohana. Now, in my research, this was I published about 12 years back. It came in Family Business Research, a review. So 1, regulated boundary. So whether you regulate the boundary between kind of families and businesses, so that the information, space, and resources that flow from family to business, it's regulated in terms of whether your focus is on business reputation or not. And secondly, whether the family business breaks out to access resources outside the family's network, it's not tied to only family's networks for unique values. So now you say that, okay, what are these unique values? And how the ascending order takes place. So ascending order in family businesses take place through unique values. Those, I call them Shini values. Shini means sentient, conscious. So you're making decisions in a conscious way. You don't have to rely on consciousness of stakeholders to decide what decisions you're going to make. If you're conscious, you can be spontaneous. You can be responsive to situation. You can be resilient. And what Shini means is 6 elements. First, S means social well-being. H means human well-being. E means ecological well-being. Second, E means economic well-being. Then national well-being and psychological well-being. So all these 6 elements, you are able to consciously make decisions in a family environment, which you cannot in a business environment, right? And the energy value of Ojas is 189. Why? Because the 6 elements times 3-dimensional time is 18, and you are perpetuating them. So half value of that is 9, so 189. Okay, so Ojas is 189. So now why? Essentially, kind of what you're doing is you're overriding the COVID discontinuity by diversifying the infinite cost of exploring solutions to global stakeholders who are seeking to enjoy the unique values the families offer. So now international stakeholders, they are very much interested. They give a lot of premium. If you are able to market to them that you are creating social value, you're creating human value, you're creating ecological value, you're creating economic value, national value, psychological value. If you are able to communicate that to international customers, you can get 81 times more, Okay, according to research here, the data account shows you can get 81 times more whatever you're earning, right? Because that's the profit, 81 times. And that's what the infinite, you can, if you do that in an infinite way, because what's happening is that you can do this again and again, right? Because you can transfer all the costs to everybody else. And infinite means tamas. Tamas is 185. That's 189 minus 4. What's happening? What's 4? 4 is consciousness of past, present. Sorry, of the 4 dimensions of space. So you have what you have done is you have globalized that consciousness to the customers, to other stakeholders who are interested in the family values, and that allows the family businesses to become dharma bhakshak. What is dharma bhakshak? Right now, the dharma is to destroy societies, to destroy humanity, to destroy ecology, to destroy economies, to destroy nations, to destroy psychology, and go to space. So it's very important that family businesses become dharma bhakshak, so that they can now create a new dharma, that the family business dharma, they can do dharma raksha of that, and then become dharma sthapak of a new religion that is a conscious focus. Okay, the Guru Kripa, it's about liberating the business interface. So once family has given liberation, the business has to take that liberty. So that creates descending order, because they have to find that unique spot where they decide that they have to now look at the knowledge and intuition reason of the entire universe. Okay, so the family becomes the guard, the rakshak. Okay, and the business becomes the front of the scenes guardian. Okay, so Diana, it's called Ratna Sambhava, and that's 91. Then there's an in the scenes guardianship that's done by the family. Okay, so that's a guru, the wisdom that family uses, while the business is the front of the scenes guardian of the guardianship that the family is providing, and the knowledge internationally the business is able to secure. So again, the 3 dimensions are organizational professionalism, the extent to which family business employs professional managers and methods within the organization, and that would happen if business is the front of the scenes guardian, looking at new methods and new things which are emerging, and able to include that in the business. Regulated family power, it has a structure that protects it from the dynamics of family. So again, in the scenes guardianship allows the family as a whole, as a unit, to protect the family business from the dynamics of the family. Then finally, competitive succession, the extent to which the succession process, including employment leadership, is based on merit and competence, right? And again, if there's a guard that family business is working as through joint synergies between the family and business, then that's going to happen automatically. Now, what is the in the scenes wisdom? That element is a guider element. So Guru, the guider element, again, 6 elements there. It's a reproductive power. As I mentioned, you reproduce those guider elements, and that's what is called gravitational power. The energy value of graviton, gravitational energy, reproductive power, reproductive energy, etheric energy, it's all 100. So what is the in the scenes wisdom? Guider means globalization. So if business becomes liberated by family, business can become global. Business can also will have unique values, because we already discussed the family has endured those unique values in the business. Then business will also be inclusive, because it has to take care of the family. It will also be diverse, because it has to take the benefits that the family is offering, and it has to provide diversity elements outside of the family. It will be engaged, right, in the welfare of the family, the welfare of the others, because if business has to take resources, diverse resources from all over the world, then it needs to be engaged citizen. And if it is engaged citizen, then it will have responsibility. So that R is responsibility. Okay. So that's the wisdom, that you globalize yourself, you maintain your uniqueness, you have inclusion of what is inside you, You have diversity of what's outside you. You engage everybody, both inside and outside, and you take responsibility. Okay, so those are 6 elements which constitute the guider element and forms the part of a guru, and what guru teaches us. So why? Because you are able to then ride the COVID discontinuity of the business as usual. All of the family businesses have seen this breakdown in families and breakdown in business networks. So if you have already learned now something which has never happened in your life, where everything broke down, if you were able to still maintain your family business, or if you had courage to start a new family business in this environment, then that's the courage, that's the intuition, that's the reason that you need to continue. And continuous element is Rajas element, because what you're doing is you're continuing over the 4 space elements and 1 entity, 5, over 3 dimensions of time. And we know that the role of Raja is to continue. It's a dharam raksha. Okay, so this is the dharam that you have to protect. Your resilience, the courage, the confidence. When everything breaks down, you are still able to survive. That's the dharam which is of relevance, not the dharam where you're destroying societies, destroying humanity, destroying ecology, and then you are buying from those entities because you want to send them to space so that they can become immortal, so that you and your children can die because you have left with no income, right? So that's not the dharam that we want to protect, that we have to destroy. But this is the dharam that we have to protect. Okay, then the third one is Swam Kripa, flow of consciousness programs, and how, again, here you do Swam Kripa by catalyzing the joint family and business interface. And that creates that horizontal order of perpetuating value, Saranyu. That is a function of the consciousness that you create through your conscious decisions. So the conscious decisions that you make, that becomes consciousness. Okay, so when you reflect on them, when others reflect on them, that becomes consciousness. What is consciousness? Soul. Soul is consciousness. It's the same thing. It's our personal force which is left out. Okay, we live as we, so it's the path that we create and through our conscious behaviors and the person that continues. So that's what is perpetuating value, the consciousness of our new dharma, of courage and confidence, of being able to tackle all the problems when the science has failed, when the entire world came to stop. You relied on your intuition, reason to succeed. So that's the consciousness that you have to hold on to. Okay, that's what is going to give you the courage and confidence to take the world. And the person who you were, or who you are, and who will you remain, who has made that decision in a conscious way and is carrying forward that consciousness. Okay, so now we know that in family businesses, women are the protectors of this consciousness that the families have. They are the ones who nurture and the children, and they are the confidants of their husbands, and they have all the knowledge about the things which happen in family businesses and families, and they are the ones who, if they are in the front and there's a gender-centered leadership, then the family business will succeed more. Operational resiliency. Family business has access to reservoir of family resources to weather temporary crisis, overcome more enduring challenges. It's not without patient, loyal capital. So here, men oftentimes have that patience because they know that the entire family depends on them. Okay. Of course, what I'm talking about is a very male-dominated perspective, but that's what the perspective is. And that's where the third element comes in, where we begin to shift that male-dominated perspective. That family business evolution is founded on the co-specialized and dedicated spatial resources. So it's really about the strategic linkages that you form and what expectation that context has, what affordances that context offers. That's what is going to allow you. So when we talk about these resources, they're called endowments. They're based on deep localized experiences. And if endowments require us to cut trees then we know that, okay, women cannot cut. You will send men who have muscle power to cut it. Okay, but if you say that, yes, that tree is provided and you need to use fruits of that, then the women can also be in the front. Okay, so it's really about how do you approach those endowments and what dimensions those endowments you perceive, experience, and then you decide to kind of multiply and apply that. Okay, so what are these endowments? Interestingly, when I looked at it, the Hindi translation of endowments is Dahej, and the energy value of that is 10. And what Dahej is, it's Mother Nature, Kudrat plus universe, the order which has been created, the Brahman. And Mother Nature and universe is the endowment that the families get as Dahej from Mother Nature, as Mother Nature comes in each of the family in the form of children. And the families transfer that Dahej, that endowment, to the next generation. Right? And the way we do that is through our divine energy. And divine is the other element. So we all know about 5 tattvas. And I show in my work that Shini, Guide, and Divine are additional 3 tattvas. And that creates an octave of tattvas. So octave because Mother Nature has 8. And therefore, everything has 8 elements. And this elements are kind of hidden in Indian wisdom, but we need to kind of focus on them in terms of Shini, conscious, Ojas, then the Guider, Guru, and the divine, Divya, which is also time. And Divya energy, 10. So we need to use divine. What is divine? Conscious determination. I for imagination, V for virtue. Then I for intuition. Then if you have an intuitive approach, then it creates a natural excellence. And so that's what it is, that you use nature to create excellence. Okay. So the dharma that you have figured out, that you need to be confident, you need to have courage, you need to move on with your life, and you need to be on the path of action. That's what is going to energize you. That's what is going to take you forward. And therefore, you consciously plan the programs for discontinuing how family business operated in the past, while continuing how it is surviving by adding futuristic solutions for the endowment growth. Okay, and how do we grow endowments? That's through discontinuous element. The meaning of discontinuous is sattva, and the energy value of that is 1, 1, 1, 1. That means in each of the space dimensions, we are creating a new time, a new future. It's not restricted by present, it's not restricted by past. And therefore, it's 1, 1, 1, 1. And then we become dharmasthhapak. Right? That the fact that the dharma that we conceived during COVID, which allowed us to succeed when everybody failed, when the science failed, when our wisdom failed to protect us, when everybody would have said that close your family business, we used intuition, reason to succeed, discontinuing from the traditions that we were using in the past, discontinuing from whatever we were doing in the present. And that's the dharam sthapna that we have to do. And that's the role of the kind of the guru. By focusing on raksha, it creates enlightenment in the raja. Okay, by making each child a raja. That no kind of, I need to be a guru. I don't need to be a follower of the guru. The guru is teaching me this only so that I can be the guru that I am following. Okay, so we say that rasi aisa ras, raso aisa ras, mil jaye rasiya, reh jaye ras. Okay, so the person, so gurutva, aisa gurutva, mil jaye guru, reh jaye gurutva. Okay, so it's not sufficiently important to follow what the guru is saying. We need to be guru ourselves by developing that potential in ourselves with the direction that the guru has provided us. So now let me quickly show you some data. So first, the Prabhu. That's an omnipotent element, Sarv Shakti man, and that's a super guardian. And the hypothesis is that when Swam I of each entity in the society acts omnipotent, it limits both inflow and outflow of the conscious energy. When we feel that everybody feels that we are omnipotent, we know everything. Okay, so then that becomes a power distance. We create a power distance, and power distance, I'm saying, has a negative effect in the first two set of dimensions that we discussed. The guru is essentially kind of creates omniscience. It creates omniscient guardian, Trikaldarshi. And so Tvam, not Swam, but Tvam is Almighty Creator. That's a primordial astrological force. Almighty Creator is called Navgraha. Okay, the 9 planets. That's the Almighty Creator, because those 9 planets are the ones which have created kind of everything that we see today. So when Almighty Creator uses wisdom, that means reproductive energy, gravitational energy, to bring certainty in the present for charting the future, because they're producing the same thing. Okay, the time follows an order, so that creates certainty. We know that next year kind of we'll have the same kind of scenario in terms of time. Of course, kind of, with a modification that we do now about the future. And it liberates the past bonds. It furthers the outflow of conscious energy. Okay, so when there's a certainty in the present and liberation from past, then outflow of conscious energy begins. In-group collectivism has a negative effect. As I said, if you are stuck with a family and the networks that family already has, it has a negative effect. Uncertainty avoidance has a positive effect, and a future orientation has a positive effect on these dimensions. So actually, kind of this is the data that we collected and based on content analysis of 120 articles, and you will see that the data support that. So the power distance, and this is data across 10 clusters of nations, 60 nations. So power distance has a negative effect on the ability of families to liberate to businesses, and for the businesses to enjoy that liberation. If there's an in-group collectivism in the society, if there's a power distance in the society. Okay, but if there's future orientation, uncertainty avoidance in the society, then business can take that liberty. Business can be futuristic with that certainty. Finally, conclusions about the family business strategies. So the omni-permeating element, is SWAM. So when the family is functioning well and the business is functioning well, all the members are involved, the consciousness programs flow without our consciousness. So you can see in terms of gender egalitarianism, performance orientation has no effect. So when things work well, it will leave no effect. It will not form a consciousness. There will be no force there. And in terms of Almighty Creator, so when chastisement renders I unimportant, when the things are working well, I is not important. I seeks to become the devil. Devil is a sura for creating urgency to change in thou, which is Almighty Creator, by discontinuing the wisdom. It helps create VUCA, volatility, uncertainty, complexity, ambiguity, that brings importance for a behind-the-scenes scientist, Asura, to become the Satan. What is Satan? Is a Saturn. So Saturn, as a negative force, then takes the past of everybody and begins shaping the Navgraha. Okay, so it's us who shape Saturn through our discordant energy by not having confidence in us, by having confidence in a scientist who wants to go to space rather than to support you. And then that influences astrological planets, and then we become bound by astrological energies. Okay, so that's really what my work is. Sorry, I took a lot of time.
Right. Thank you, Professor Gupta, for a very comprehensive and rather, I suppose, very interesting research on the topic. I think based on, a lot of data, and though the time is short, I'm sorry for that. But with time, I think this becomes a very comprehensive and very enlightening kind of research on family businesses and certain new parameters which has been added by you in terms of adding it to the spirituality path, to the ancient wisdoms that we get from the traditional texts and other scripts therein, and really found it very interesting. Thank you so much. So now I request Mr. Kohli to come and to share his experiences in this domain. So welcome, Kohli Saab, and the dais is all yours now.
Thank you. Good afternoon to all. Vipinji gave a wonderful analogy with the Indian mythology, and that's a matter of great research to connect that how our ancient wisdom works. And I think that is the crux of a family business, where value-based growth is far more than the material-based growth. I do not firstly differentiate between the corporatized world and a family business world, because basically both are born out of people, and people don't get divided into corporates and non-corporates. People are people. Everybody has a body, a soul, a mind, and a heart. It's only how you project them by way of your education, by way of your own systems. So therefore, I think it's a human engineering, and which manifests in various methodologies, but the human being remains the same. In fact, sometimes I think that the family businesses or the family growth system is very inclusive. To just draw one example, if I have to deal with a corporate gentleman, I ask him, no, I want everything in black and white. When you talk to me as a Starbucks man or a McDonald's, put it on the file. And says, why, sir? You don't trust me. I said, no, I trust you, but I don't trust your mobility. You would be gone from here, and your successor will come and tell me, sir, I don't know what he did it. This is what the book says. So I with you, I don't go with the word of mouth or with your word. I go with the book. This is one difference between family business and corporates, where the values are so strongly held, as Vipinji explained in his mathematical expressions, that they don't waver. So this is a very strong point, that when family businesses get corporatized, there are issues of inheritance. Sometimes we see them in a negative sense, but we should see them also in positive sense, because Tata Group, why did they have to change? Such a fantastic group, so well organized, so socially conscious. Why did the change come in? Why do we only talk about Reliance? I think it happened there also. To my mind, if in our India and today, if I have to cite a single corporate which is actually being run very professionally, is the ITC group, because it's not owned by any single person. There's no family management in it. But when you talk about their corporate social responsibility, sometimes they say, why are you in the business of tobacco? Tobacco is not good for health. So everywhere, either in one way or another, there would be pluses and there would be minuses. In family business, suddenly, if we see today, like what Vipinji said, let's take COVID for the matter. Let me give you one or two examples. This is not for or against family business, but this will give you some reflection what families mean. I think in the entire world and in India, there must be the minimum litigation today between the landlord and the tenant. Wherever there were families, they settled. All right, you can't give it. We know you have not earned it. But with due pardon, not a single corporate has given any concession until now, which I as in my own business, I've given relief to McDonald's, I've given relief to Starbucks, I've given you leaf to coffee bean and tea leaves. Oh, they did not, we did not ask them for money when they were closed. But let me put this question in reverse. None of them could have obtained a sanction from their superiors to say, I waive off. They cannot waive off. So that is where I think the morality, the ethics, the value system which a family business grows is very important. Why? We link our honor with our business. If I'm a bankrupt man, this term we have not heard in India very often. But if a bankrupt family's daughter will not get a groom's hand also because he's bankrupt. If you have not returned your loan, you say, oh my God, they have a lot of liabilities. How can I give my daughter to such a family? Where a marital connection is subject to a parameter of your business, how can you go wrong? And that is the strength of our family businesses today. Yes, let's talk about the pitfalls. There are negatives. And I don't know whether Vipinji mentioned this word in his, or he may add if he would like, moho, attachment. That is one major factor in our businesses where the negative part, where the competency gets subjected to attachment. And that is where big time losses happen. But again, I say, we carry the same thing to the corporate world. You sometimes hear a chairman who's very good. Sometimes you say, yeah, he promoted a lot of good people. And sometimes you say, oh, no, he didn't make the right choices. So it's basically human. It's our own engineering. It's only the application. The presentation has changed. The tools remain the same. The thought process remains the same. On the other hand, I feel that I think we can never go wrong in the family business. Now, we had taken 4 points: preparedness, agility, adaptation, and building resilience. So let me, in my address, take these 4 points. Preparedness. In every business house, if you go by the ancient wisdom, we have a big saving quarter. What saved our businesses in India during the COVID was our commitment to save for that rainy day. I think the rain had come in 2019 and 2020, and it continues to pour on us. So I think this preparedness, this ancient wisdom that some part of your income, some part of your proceeds must always be there for a rainy day. Some reserves have come true. And we must continue, even if we come a golden age again. This factor has saved our people in this part of Asia, that we had a saving streak in us. And that is what has carried us forward. Yes, in second wave and third wave, we have emptied our banks. But let's pray to grace of God that in the first year, saving factor. So that is the personal preparedness. COVID has also taught us for at least 100 years more. Say if I have a generation which is now 40 and I'm in my late 60s, but of late, nobody had mentioned in the force measure the item of or a disaster as an epidemic. So now the new agreements which are taking place between the corporates and people, the force majeure also mentions epidemic. Many places people escaped going on a force majeure implementation of that factor because they said epidemic is not mentioned in it. So now what is happening is epidemic is going to will become a part, and even that, if in case of an epidemic, the business comes to halt, the obligations to all the sides would take a backseat until situation is corrected. So this preparedness factor, a major thing which has come into addition is that now there is a clause which is being added in every agreement that I do not subject myself to mercy of my partner or my associate. It's clearly mentioned that if we have a situation like this, then the obligation towards financial part will take a back seat or will be reconsidered. So this is the part of preparedness. Agility, very important. See what Zomato. Would anybody of you know that Zomato has created a much bigger disruption than what they have collected? Much more than that, they brought loss to our industry in the country. That figure is far bigger than what they've collected. But this is the world when disruptive technologies, disruptive systems come in. So we need to, when we talk about agility, I talk about business agility. I talk about my getting out of my steadfast shell and say, no, we only do this. Our core strength is this. No, today you can't say my core strength is this. You can well say that I can change when time comes in. For example, there was a time when somebody would come and collect food. Today, your sales depend upon whether you can deliver food. So agility here in this context would mean changing with time, changing with the demand and need of your consumer, and not going into this. Don't take pride in this tagline. We do it this way only. It doesn't work anymore. You need to, for example, we give you a very stark example today. When I joined my business, we would ask a man and a woman, and there was a column in the guest register: married, relationship. Today, you can't ask this question. It's being rude. You just need to have your identity card and take it. My morality outlook in my own organization, in our 4 hotels, has changed today. We accepted the change. Perhaps, I'll be very honest with you, 30 years ago, I would not have entertained anybody in my front office area where I would have felt that this is not a legitimate relationship. But today, the entire definition has changed. So, we would say, we don't want to have a license of liquor in a hotel. It's a family hotel. Today, there is no hotel which can work without liquor because it's the entire family drinking. So how do I say it's a family hotel? So I give this often as an example that I think I have a Puritan mindset. And in that Puritan mindset, I brought in a lot of changes myself. I made a lot of acceptances, understanding that if I am not agile, then there's a saying in Hindi. He says, "हम तो दौड़ते नहीं हैं, भागते नहीं." कहते नहीं आज हम खड़े ठीक है, कहते हैं आज खड़े रहने के लिए भी भागना पड़ेगा. So even if you want to be static, you need to be on run. So that part of agility is very. I give you one more example. When I was made CEO of my organization, I said I will never have a fashion show in my hotels. And that time, about 30 years ago, the fashion shows had come into big vogue, everywhere, a fashion show. And I closed my doors. I said, I'll only open my doors to Indian classical music, fine arts as my sponsorship, as my promotional duty, but I will not encourage this gender deterioration to my mind. Yes, I still sticking to that. I'm holding my guns, but I know maybe not for very long. When it say no, it's not a fashion show, it's a costume show. So changes will come in, and I'm preparing myself for that. That I cannot project my mindset into my business. Those times have gone. You got to change. You got to be very agile. in your outlook, in your decision making, in your acceptance. I get to see people, young people, and say, "Sir, can I borrow your pen?" Earlier, I used to tell them, "Sorry, you bring your own pen. I will not tell you time. You're not wearing a watch." I've changed. I think so. It's better that he'll see it in his computer. So you keep changing. Yes, but I need to say one thing here. The presentation changes, the tools don't change. Like I always say, and one of my little bit line I can share with you, we don't subject our values to change. We subject change to value. You can't change your, time with your values. So you change your time with the values. The values remain the same. They will never go out of vogue. That will always be there. But the application, the presentation will definitely change. The third point was adaptation. I think agility and adaptation are very close to both the terms. I think I talked in my little few minutes earlier more about adaptation, and agility and adaptation are very extremely connected. And I like to say here in one more thing, in context of employment. You see, in family businesses, I became a CEO because I'm my father's son. But my father trained me very hard. I was a dropout student in my school. He made me finish my basic education and sent me to the kitchen. I can still chop onions. I can still slice a bread. I can still tell my boys, this is the way you do it. But when you bring in your progeny and put them in the seat, it goes grossly wrong. But this is a problem. Where is the issue? Where is the solution? Every child in a family business, it may be a shop or it may be a corporate, please send him away from you for some time to be on his own, and he'll come back as a changed person. I did this. My son went to USA. The gentleman who gave him his immigration was a very good. He has hotels, and he went and told him, I said, "Sir, you have given me this immigration opportunity, but I would like to work in your restaurant." And he started his work as a steward in the restaurant. And today he is he has a lot of business. But the point I'm trying to make is, I made him a decision-making person, a person to move in society, a person to fend for himself in totally a place where the periphery of his influence, whether parental, societal, city, country, everything was away. The moment your aircraft flies out of the Indian territory, you are one of those 350 people. You are J20 or H1 or 2 or 3. That is where your classroom begins to say. So if there is nothing wrong, if my son or anybody's son comes in family business, why not? But have you given him adequate training? This is a big question. And I think the solution lies when you let those children, let the progeny go into the wilderness and fend for himself. For example, how much would you can influence, you can send him all the money on the earth, anywhere in USA or Europe, but you cannot teach him sitting here how to deal with those people. Here, you are a referential society. Somebody will meet you and say, "What's your father doing?" Even in the classroom, when you come back home and tell a small child, say, "Acha, tumhare saath kaun baithta hai?" Or there's a girl sitting next to me. Okay, tomorrow you come when you go meet her, tomorrow ask her, what is her father doing? So our mindset starts from a reference. In Asian mentality or our psychology, to use a better term, is what is your father doing? What is your background? And you are sent into a country where your background does not matter. What matters is you. So I think that where is the solution to the problems which we see very often in our family business? The solution lies. I give you one example. We were building a new project here, and I saw my son. He would drive every morning with all these workers in his van. So I told him, "Yeah, I've given you a van here. Why do you get these guys in this van? It's for you." He said, "Dad, I am John, they are Jack, he's Tom, he's Jill. He says, we work as a team. That's what I've learned. I was for 10 years in USA. You don't discern or distinguish between people. This is my team. This is not Mata Deen or Ram Deen or Sharma ji. This is my team. So I think that credit goes of that developing that outlook when you are without a reference anywhere. In fact, I was often told that not to talk about our family business because the people you were working with would say you'll go back. So one thing which I'm very clear about, I always emphasize when we talk about family businesses, don't let your progeny grow under your own wings. Let them fly out, let them develop their own wings, and they'll bring better technology, a better working style than what we can offer them. Last point you have mentioned, Dr. Chaddha, is building resilience. Okay, now let's talk in Asian context. What is resilience to my mind? A lot to do with our government here in India. Very sad situation. You write a letter to them, you'll never get a reply. You go and meet a guy who is 30 years old and you are almost 70 and you will have to sir him. Because if you don't sir him, he'll do with your interaction with the powers to be. When you enter office, an unknown space, say yaar, सबसे smiling बंदे से बात करते हैं, which is the person I can speak with, who would give me right answer. So I think in my context, resilience, far more than economic, far more than numbers, has to be in your mind. You have to change your mindset here. And you have to understand that this is a colonial legacy we are following, which has not fully broken, yet cracked, but not broken. It's not finished as yet. You can now see some changes in the younger people who would say, you do your job and I do my job. But let me be very nakedly frank, it still is there. And every day you have to kill a little bit of yourself to be able to communicate with them. Now there are two kinds of people. One who says, "Jo lena le lo, hum baat nahi karte." The one who says, "No, I do not do that. I'll try to develop my relationship." I will say, "I'm talking to another Indian. What's the problem?" You have to pay a little price, but it takes a little time to put across yourself. I have yet to visit an office where the first thought which does not come into a bureaucrat is, "Inko koi mere se kaam to nahi hai." Why? So this is one area where in Indian family businesses, our ego has to first convert into comes, whether it's taxation, whether it is legal, your infrastructure. Where do you place yourself in order to protect yourself? If I have to compare anything with abroad today, with overseas businesses, I think the first place where the score is that your self-esteem is never shattered. Here, you have to kill your self-esteem very often, more than often. And that is one point which I, in my own way, when I am heading my own my association, I go and meet people. I recently, one of the very senior people in the government, he moved out. So I sent him a book as a parting note, and I wrote in there, I know we'll never meet ever again in life, but I want to just let you know that your performance and goodness here will be in my repository of my reflections and my relationship. I had to mention there that this comes to you as a recognition of what you did, as an appreciation, as something which I admired, but not as a continuous relationship that you may see me tomorrow asking you for a favor. Why do you have to do this? Because I did not want my emotion to be translated into some sense of a continuous relationship. So the first line I wrote, I don't think we'll ever meet in life again. Why do we have to begin with this? Because I did not want my self-esteem to be even questioned for a minute. That why people welcome you, but in farewells, there are very little farewells. So these are the kind of thoughts. I'm sure you'll be able to understand where I'm coming from. That this is one point which even if you write, I give you one example. Like guys who come from a good school, I wrote a 4-page letter giving all the suggestions of what I wanted to say there. Today is exactly 5 months to that incident. I've never heard back from them. And I at times think, I knew it. I would not get an answer, then why the hell did I write those points and give it? But that is the difference in a value system. When your father taught you should have a pen in your pocket, a small diary in your pocket, and a watch on your wrist. My father didn't buy me a watch because it was a fancy watch. He bought it because you should know what is the value of time. He bought me a pen so that I can reply back to everybody a letter if I have received, and a notebook that I should remember what I'm talking with. Even while I'm talking to you, there's a paper and a points here. So this is what family business is all about. You pass your values from one generation to another. The only point I made which is different is here we have to prepare our progeny, our prodigy with a tagline, isko dil pe mat lena. Take it as a part of the system. I think I've taken a lot of time, Dr. Chaddha, and I think it's time for our audience to now dabble with Mr. Vipin.
Right. Thank you, Kohli Sahab, and everything came from the heart. And I think the bearer knows where the shoe pinches. So therefore, the audience and the participants who are with us would take a lot of enlightenment and lot of information about how family businesses are, what are the challenges therein, and how to come about and bring about sustainability into this. So friends, now we have some time for some questions and queries that we may take. So you can just post your queries in the chat box if you feel like, and otherwise if you can just raise your hand, I'll allow you also. Maybe 1 or 2 questions I can allow you live also. So if somebody has a query, you can just raise your hand, and then I can allow you. Meanwhile, when the queries are coming, so I'll request Professor Vipin Gupta to talk about this VUCA factor. And how the businesses are being more affected, and some solution also, because I know he's talked about all this during his comprehensive presentation, but just in a nutshell, Professor Gupta, kindly oblige with this, the VUCA factor and how family businesses are affected, and the solutions therein, what needs to be done as regards. Yeah. Sir.
Sure. Thank you. First of all, Mr. Kolka, wonderful comments and wonderful experiences. Thank you so much for sharing that. VUCA, as we know, it's a term which has been used to say volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. Right. And so science has popularized that. And really the idea that comes from is in the past, scientists thought that science is deterministic. So we were taught that science is deterministic. So whatever science teaches, there's a certainty in it, in a way. So that was Newtonian science. Since the time of Einstein, over the last 100 years, the scientists are saying that no kind of science is not certainty. There is no certainty in science. Why? Because each person has their own interpretation of reality. So for that matter, earlier the idea was that ultimately everybody gets zero profits, because whatever you invest, somebody has to incur the losses, and in the end, everybody has the equal profits and losses. But now the idea becomes, if you are a first mover, if you are a leader, in that case you can enjoy increasing returns, but the people who don't move, they will end up with huge losses. Okay, so the whole idea of increasing inequities is based on that science, that the people who are fast moving, who have already resources, they can grow more resources. But that also contaminates and pollutes our consciousness by making us dependent on those resources rather than endowments that Mother Nature has gifted us, each one of us. So if all of us want that now we want resources to grow more resources, in that case, it creates inertia in us because we believe that we don't have the resources. It creates uncertainty in us. It creates volatility in us. So what science is doing, it's destroying the confidence that family businesses had as they worked for thousands of years so successfully. And therefore, because how science is done, science reviews the empirical evidences, and based on that, they feed back that information. So if the work is done based on Western research, they'll feed back the work that Western experiences are, and they will say that even people in India should do that. And then we say, wow, it's a unique experience, therefore we are going to pay you. So you create increasing demand for management scientists. They become richer, you become poorer. And that's what is happening right now, right? So that really what we need to do is we need to first understand that neither the old science, where Newton said everything is deterministic, is correct, because deterministic means fatalistic. It means that you don't have the power. And probabilistic means that only some people have power. Okay. Right. So both those interpretations are problematic, and our ancient wisdom kind of helps us understand that yes, they're problematic, but then we need to take that forward by saying that yes, we have the power to create and craft our own future by not focusing on limitations and challenges that we have, but on the gifts that Mother Nature has given us, and using those gifts to make things happen. And if nobody is supporting us, if we don't have the money to pay the management scientist, we need to have confidence that Mother Nature has given us all the unique gifts that are needed for us to succeed as much as anybody else can. So if we have that confidence, then there's no reason that we have volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity.
Right. Thank you, Professor Gupta. Manmohanji, would you like to supplement what Dr. Saab has said?
Yeah, I think what Dr. Saab is saying is this, that the science, the parameters for science to measure many situations is different. And I think, for example, and I missed out on touching the role of women in family business. If you allow me, I would like to spend a minute more on this. See, if you go back to the creation of India in the sense of the partition, the new India, there was a very major number of people who migrated from Pakistan to India, in West Bengal, here and there. And I did a little study in this whole area because my parents also migrated from Pakistan. And I'm mid-50s born, and the partition took place in 47. So I was fairly a 9-year-old to see the frustrations, the disappointments our parents would face, our fathers, uncles would face, that the loan has been refused. Somebody said you do not have any security. And one factor which would always come in was my mother or my grandmother would say, koi nahi, ho jaane. He knows better. Stick on, hang on. And I think that is one role which I witnessed in many families. And the grand old lady would be sitting in the foyer of the house on a divan and ask you, how was your day? And you have say, कि बेटी आज ते कुछ अच्छा नहीं लग गया, कोई नहीं बेटा, फिर आ जाएगा. That transmission of that strength into your limbs and lungs was remarkable. And that is why the role of an Indian woman today in a joint family system or a business is fantastic. Why do we have names like Sheila Sinha, Usha this, that? That's not because they were the favorites. That was not that lady was maybe one very good-looking person. That comes out of the regard and respect our women merited at that time, even now today, that they become your psychological partners, your morale boosters, and say, and every man, no matter what his economic status was in 50s and 60s, knew my wife has something on her side. When needed, she'll bring it forward. So I think even let's talk for Kokila Band today. Let's talk for many women. I mean, we are very small, tiny businesses. But even if you take in the bigger businesses, Mrs. Kirloskar used to be the best mentor to her children. And anywhere, the mother is the role model who decides. You ultimately go and ask her, Mom, do you think this should work out? She's never done business, but there is a great instinct, intuitive blessings they had that they'll say, Ole, go ahead, don't worry, So I think the role of women in corporate sector comes into more into a uniform, more into a business suit. But in family businesses, it is a dining table talk, it is a table talk, it is a kitchen talk. It's when the son goes and tells the mother, please tell dad, he's not listening to me. This is not right. Or when the father goes and tells the mother, his wife, thoda nu samjha, So that is the kind of role women play in family businesses. Sometimes it can be destructive also. Sometimes you have a very high favorite or something. But that, like I said, that I attribute that to women engineering. It has nothing to do with corporate or a thing. I know of many corporates where women have influenced negatively or positively. So that's one part. But by and large, the role of women in business family businesses is very positive. They become the bridge. There are times when father and son don't speak with each other. They're not on the same level. They're not on the same plane. But the mothers they're the great levelers to bring them together. And when a mother passes away in a house, why does it become empty? Because the communicator, the center, the gravitational point is lost. And that is a time when another woman, maybe the eldest daughter-in-law, steps in to take control of that situation. Sorry, I went a little overboard, but I wanted that this point is very, very important.
Yeah, this is very important, Kohli Sahab. And there's one further question coming from Dr. Rajesh Pandey. And he says that, while the second or third generation entrepreneur, and because he's into the teaching, so they say that, while after their studies, when they join the business, what things they think that they have inherited the business. Now it is on, it will go on and on. So what things should both the parents as well as the second generation or the third generation entrepreneur keep in mind so that the business not only becomes sustainable but it grows? So I think we can start off with you, and then Professor Gupta may supplement if needed.
I'll give you two answers to this. One is a practical answer, one is a theoretical answer. In theory, you will say, let's continue, let's grow. I don't agree with that. Every child comes with one's own thinking, goes to a different school, is a different mindset, is a different approach. I think to a good family growth, a family business, we should allow a child one business which is his independent business, and he should be part of the family business also. So his aspirations, which he wants his way, can be fulfilled while he is integrated into the family system also. This is something which we have tried in our family business. We have given all our youngsters one vertical to make on their own while they stay committed to their family business also. So I think either you should be so wide-hearted in a family business, in a joint family business, where you tell each child, okay, I give you the liberty to do it your way. Or if you can't do it on a joint platform, give him an independent platform and say, you want to do it your way, your project, go ahead with it. In that case, both his aspirations are completed. The family legacy remains intact, and his own growth is not subjected to your think that to a healthy business. If a man cannot do it, then let his spouse be free. Say, okay, we open this for you, you do this. But when we bring them into a system See, because like in land, families also multiply. When two brothers start a business, they're two. Then they become four. Then they become six. So as more people come in, more ideas come in, there are issues also of who's elder and who's younger, who has more experience and who doesn't have more experience. End of the day, it's all arithmetic, as you know. So the best way to contain this malady would be always give him one independent vertical, whether it may be anything, where he can fulfill his aspiration while he or she stands committed to her legacy business too.
Thank you, Kohli Sahab. Professor Gupta, would you like to add upon?
Just a little bit. I totally agree with Kohli Sahab. There's only one additional kind of just framing of that it's very important to move with the times. And family businesses cannot be stuck with the old ways and old businesses. And what Kohli Sahab has given is a great formula. When children comes in, if you can give them one good opportunity that family business was missing, or the child has identified, right, based on his or her passion, in that case, that opens new possibility and allows family business to decide whether there are synergies between those two. And maybe that's a conversation that can be had, or to decide that no, the new business has a much faster growth opportunity, much more profitable, has much more stability for the family, and therefore the old business will be sold off. And so family businesses have no reason to be stuck in old ways of doing things when they have such a nice internal opportunity to move with the times much faster than legacy businesses, the professional businesses. And if family businesses took what Kohli Sahab is saying, then really we would see far more wealth creation from family businesses and far more healthy families.
Right.
May I quickly add, Dr. Chaddha?
Yes, sir.
You see, in India, we are now learning not to be emotionally attached to the assets. For example, if my valuation is 100 crores, tomorrow somebody makes it 130 crores, my quitting should not be seen emotional, which we were until now, and rightfully so, because the creation of wealth in India after the partition was very emotional one, because those were not arithmetic or mathematical calculations. They were emotional calculations. My father sacrificed a lot to see, like say, somebody planted a seed so that you can sit under this tree. So when I look back on my shoulder and see the struggle of my father, I have tears in my eyes that why didn't he see all this? So that emotional quotient is now to be broken in the Asian sense, where you say, all right, if I get a better price, I walk out like an American would do. But here we say, it's my family honor. So I think what Vipinji just said, if I can just build upon it, we have to be realistic at one time, but do it in a proper method and say that we have verticals made. The stigmatization of the partitioning has to be measured with a sense of not justice, but sense of viability. Like in a piece of land, 10 people can't share it. The similar thing goes for businesses also. You are more people and you can't make the decision making. We should start promoting in family businesses a sense of respectability, a sense of reality, that partitioning is not a stigma. Partitioning is necessary, and do it honorably, do it in a better way, rather than ending up into a, what happened with the Ambanis? Ultimately, they partitioned. They could have done that without going through the press, without all that. But that was almost 15 years ago. So today, I think if an occasion like this comes in, we all educated people should sit down together and say, let's do it in a nice manner, rather than having infights. And you see, why do family businesses get a bad look? The first thing will be, ladai ho gayi, jhagda ho gaya. And I always say one thing, that's a human engineering. There's nothing to do with people. It happens everywhere. Somebody has been promoted against somebody. What about that? Somebody is getting more perks than the other one. What about that? So this is a human solution. I would only say, again, coming back in the Asian context and the Indian context, we attach a lot of honor to our belonging, our wealth, which we need to now think more in scientific terms, that division of wealth would create more wealth, not diminish it. It will create more opportunities. I know of my friends, there were two brothers. If I can give you 1 minute more, I had this gentleman had two sons. One was just having a nice time, other was working very hard. So we confidently told him, yes, go partition kar do and tell them, ek tum le lo, ek tum le lo. And within 1 month, you'll see that the guy who is doing nothing will start, put him into a competitive mode. He did that. Both of them are doing well. Otherwise, what one was spending, the other was earning. So there are solutions and to these things. And one solution is a very perennial. That's a good solution. I do not know whether I can carry it out or not. I can't put it on oath, but eventually this is the reality.
Right. Thank you, Kohli Sahab. And I think there are no more questions, and we have already overshot our time.
Yeah.
But the best part is that there's 90 or 100 minutes now, not 90 now. We've taken more than 104 minutes to be precise. We never felt that this was some texting, and it was just like a very good interaction, lot of learning out of this.
I must compliment Dr. Gupta because Vipinji, that the way he blended our Indian mythology. Vipinji, we have a great author, Devdutt Patnaik.
Yes.
I don't know whether you read him or not. I was reminded of him today while you were talking. He is found in Mahabharata, in an Indian mythology, the reason, the effect, the cause for everything we do or say. And I would recommend everybody in the audience today to read Jaya is a story on the Mahabharata, the Jaya by Devdutt Patnaik. You would not put the book down. It explained so well in a present context of today, how today is connected to yesterday, and how yesterday is more relevant to today than it might have been to the yesterday. So that's a great book. I would recommend everybody to read.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Kohli Sahab. And just a moment. And friends, now we come to an end of this wonderful webinar and two wonderful speakers. Just to sum up, what transpired and a brief summary of what we have discussed. Basically, Professor Gupta has talked about the three dimensions of Trika, wherein there's Prabhu Kripa, there's Guru Kripa, and Swayam Kripa, and all these three variable elements with how they affect the family business, especially with regard to the I and I regarding with regard to the external and to the other environment, and what one can take from that and how it can go about with lot of data and research in more than 60 nations. And then he's very, briefly talked about the VUCA factor and, the certain solutions with this, because business, as you know, has lot of uncertainty. Though there's everything is changing, and the only predictable element is the change. But it is more so in business aspect, because you never know what will happen tomorrow. And again, the aspect of spirituality and rather what Kohli Sahab also talked about, which goes into the families, wherein I think a lot of emotional quotient rather than the intelligent quotient will help the businesses and the people to survive. Because I think that is wherein, the businesses have survived, that even this will pass away. ये भी हो जाएगा, ये भी ठीक हो जाएगा. I mean, this is the what, and I think that's the best, because if good times have not taken fast, that even the bad times will pass away. So this is what we discussed, and Kohli Sahab talked about his own experience in the field, especially starting with the COVID aspects, with the compliance aspects, how government should be bringing out more red carpet. Because let's say we are talking about ease of doing businesses and the ease of starting businesses, but unfortunately, even with all the talk, what we should be providing to our business, we are still not doing it. We still lag, though we are improving, but still we lag about it. And I think then the talk about succession planning also was taken on, and how you from one generation to the other. I am reminded of Raj Kapoor. I think Professor Gupta will be relating, because others can. He said that my father Raj Kapoor, the great showman of Indian cinema, and he said my father Shri Prithvi Raj Kapoor, again coming from the western part of Punjab, which is now Pakistan, and as refugees, and then settling as one of the dominant families of Indian cinemas even today. He said that my father said that कि जब छोटे लेवल पर ज्वाइन करोगे, बिल्कुल नीचे लेवल पर क्लैप बॉय, और बढ़ते 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 आप ऊपर चले जाओगे. And then and he started off at that level as a clapman, and then serving teas to the actors, and then moving on to one of the biggest showmen that India has produced, and then RK movies, and then his family legacy was taken by his illustrious sons, and even now it is continuing. So I think that is the crux therein, and then there may be conflicts, and I think with this conflict, because Professor Gupta has also talked about one word that I would I am reminded of, is constructive destruction. See, if this destruction is inevitable, but at the end of the day, it has to be a constructive destruction, like what happened with the two brothers Anil and Mukesh, and what happened to the others. But I was reading, and just like to share that the succession planning that the Jindals did was marvelous. Even Reliance was, they were in the public domain. And lot of plus minuses, and Kamath Saab and everyone had to be involved into the process before that succession actually took place, the partition. But what Jindals did, this was remarkable. I think those of you who have not read it, just read how the succession was planned, and how the umpires, and now all of them are doing well, whether it is JSW or the other Jindal who was an MP also. So all these things, and coming up with a lot of illustrations from the traditional wisdom, from the Vedas, and from our wisdom that is therein, and with a lot of exposure and experience from Kohli Saab. So I would like to thank the two panelists, Professor Vipin Gupta and Mr. Manmohan Singh Kohli, for sparing the valuable time, and especially bringing about time on Sunday, and especially Professor Gupta, who now roughly I would be 2 a.m. to roughly 2:15 a.m. at USA, and he is up. So salute, and from all of us here. I would also like to thank the lovely audience who joins us day in, day out. There is no compulsion for joining, but I think the very elite participants who join us has helped us to sustain during the last 55 weeks, wherein we have gone on without even a single break. Last 55 weeks, we have gone on to speak about one topic or the other. And I am proud to say that we have created some good content which can be referred now onto the YouTube videos. And friends, I would also like to thank the IHRDI team who works day in, day out for all this. Sanya, Dr. S.K. Sharma, architect Jeet Kumar Gupta ji, Saibi Saab, Mohammad Suleiman ji, JPS Talwar, all these people who work behind the scene to bring about, topics, suggesting. I am just the front, but, many people who work pro bono, work without any monetary and financial assistance or otherwise, just to, have something good for the society. And COVID has thrown this opportunity to us, which we were not aware earlier. We never used such technology, but now we are using it with a lot of legitimacy and a lot of goodness. And this is the opportunity came during the threat. And I think that is happening world over, and this gives a lot of leeway and space to the business. And friends, just a notification that the e-certificate and video recording of this webinar will be available. You have to just ping me on 8727857116. I just repeat, 8727857116. And once we have your numbers and all, we can always send you back the e-certificate also, and this webinar recording also. So with this word, we come to an end of this wonderful webinar. I am really once again thankful to Professor Gupta and Mr. Kohli for this. And till the time we meet next again on a very illustrative and a very informative topic. So goodbye to all of you. Sayonara and namaskar. Thank you.